Will Rob remember to do the proper YouTube shilling in the proper order this time around? Stay tuned to find out. Probably not, but we'll see. Anyway, today we're taking a look at another new Korean transforming robot toy. Now, I do have a little bit more in terms of new stuff, so I'm no longer caught up in covering all of these. This is one of them. There's another thing I still have to make a video on that I'm holding off on because it's a big combiner team, and you know how time-consuming the big combiner team videos are and how much nobody seems to care when I do them. But eventually I hope to do that one. For now, though, we are taking a look at something new, or relatively new. New enough. That is Metal Cardbot. This right here is Metal Cardbot Fleta Z. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's what this is. And yeah, the Metal Cardbot toys, they piqued my interest when I first started seeing videos of them popping up, but I never really wanted to go in on any of them because they had interesting transformations, but kind of like some of the articulation limitations bugged me. Now, I understand these are Korean transforming robot toys. They're not huge on the articulation front, and I don't expect them to be. But the thing that kind of disappointed me about some of them was that like the articulation that was missing seemed really obvious and basic, and like something they absolutely could have put in there. So the reason I got this guy is because this actually has pretty much all the articulation that I was hoping the other ones would have. So I thought he looked cool, I thought the transformation was interesting, particularly the legs, and liked the articulation that it offered. So here we are. And yeah, from what I've seen at least, every single Metal Cardbot figure comes with one of these cards, which is not really a card, but it's kind of neat. This little slab that is a translucent plastic accessory. I can get behind the idea. The thing that bums me out about this, though, is from what I've seen in all the videos that I've watched, none of them have a place for you to store the card in vehicle mode. Like, you can't even peg or clip it anywhere just to have it attached to the vehicle. And spoilers, I guess, for what's going to happen later in the video, but this piece pops off, and then this is the accessory bit. None of them have a place to store this once you've, converted this into its weapon form or accessory form. So it's kind of a bummer. I really feel like they could have done it. It's not, I wouldn't say it's as bad as the toe key nonsense that Tobots used to do, because these, by and large, are not necessary to enjoy the toy itself. Like, you don't need it to unlock anything. It's not a necessary accessory, especially in Fleta's instance, because he actually, or she, I don't really know, they actually have a incorporated weapon in the vehicle mode that can be used for the robot mode. So like this is even less necessary, so it's just kind of irritating that there's no place to store this stuff. But oh well. This, as you can see, has some nice texturing on it. I love the gold that they used on the black. And there's a nice illustration of the character with their bow drawn, which, yeah, that's what this turns into. And yeah, we'll get a look at this more when we actually have to transform it and all that. But now moving on to Fleta's vehicle mode. It is a jet, like a jumbo jet, I guess, passenger jet, something along those lines, and it's got eyes, which I think is cute. It calls to mind the Mini-Force Animaltron stuff, and I think this is kind of fun. A little bit of a Go-Launcher vibe to it too, and all the Metal Cardbot figures, from what I've seen, do this, where their vehicle mode has eyes. What's kind of cool about this too is some of them, the vehicle mode eyes are still on display in robot mode. Here, not so much. The eyes disappear, which I think is nice, or at least get hidden to a degree. The actual jet is definitely a bit squished. It gives me kind of like almost like a Playmobil vibe, or something along those lines, in how it's like proportioned. And the slightly upturned wings, it feel like they should be able to come down further, but they can, but it's obviously wrong. I kind of wish that that could be a little more level, but I kind of understand why, because of this joint here and the turbines and all that. They can go up though if you want to. You can make the plane flap its wings, kind of like a bird, which works with the eyes and the little gold tip on the nose. Kind of looks like it could work as a beak. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this vehicle mode. The detailing is nice. There's a minimal, like up front anyway, kind of minimal texturing, but there is some. And the black and gold is always a great color combination. The red accents also look really nice, though the red back here is applied so lightly that it might as well be pink. And it's not terrible, it's just weird, because like this is clearly meant to continue on here to make this line, but like there's very different shades going on there. I feel like they could have matched that better. Like they did the white on the wings pretty well, so I don't really know what happened there, but oh well. Now, as you might expect, actually no, before we go into size comparisons, there is one bit of functionality you can kind of play around with here, where you've got these little doors that open up in the back, so you could potentially do like a little cargo door thing. Unfortunately, because of the sizes involved, like that's not gonna happen. That would have been cool though if you could like tuck the card into the little cargo doors that open. This is for transformation, but it's kind of cool how it adds a little bit of plane functionality. Anyway, now let us move on to size comparisons, because this is, you know, a Korean robot toy, so it is on the big side. Let's bring in our usual size comparisons. You can see he is quite large compared to Artfire and Rotor Storm and Samus, and definitely a lot larger than Burnout, our kind of typical deluxe, which stands to reason. That's kind of how these toys go. Now let's get all these out of the way, and there we go. Before we move on to our most important of size comparisons, bring in some other Korean stuff. So there is Fleta Z with Hello Carbot Ponymeister to show what it looks like with a more classic size Hello Carbot figure. So like, I guess you could say the old school sizes for some of these transforming toys. And for something a little bit more contemporary, here he is with the still reigning champion of all of these things, as far as I'm concerned, Tobot v Wild Chief. And yeah, it's a plane, so it spreads out more, but I feel like the size and density is about the same. Now let's get Wild Chief out of here and give you what you've all been waiting for. Here he is with the duck tank. Alright, transformation time. Let us turn Fleta Z or Z or Fleta Z or whatever into the robot mode. But before we do that, I'm remembering, before we do that, if you like this video or any other video that I've done on the channel and you want to support me and or the channel, I do have a Patreon, which there's a link for in the description. I only have a single $1 tier, that's the only one that there is, but that $1 a month gets you early access to new videos, in addition to, of course, supporting the channel. If you'd rather support the channel non-monetarily, which is completely understandable, you could always do the typical YouTube shill stuff like comment, subscribe. And I mean me shilling, not you shilling. Outside of that, there is also a separate link in the description for a Discord server for Show Z, which is an overseas website that I've used to buy a lot of third-party knockoff. And the official masterpieces are on there, but I'm kind of not huge in the official masterpiece stuff lately, so it's mostly for me been like third-party knockoff stuff. But they have great customer service, pretty fast turnaround time, good prices, cheap shipping. It's usually free to the US, so that's really nice. And yeah, great site. And if you use the link in the description to join their Discord server, I get about 50 cents worth of store credit for everyone who joins, so that could add up to eventually be used to get some extra stuff to cover on the channel in the future. Just putting that out there. So with that out of the way, it is time to transform Fleta Z. To start, we're going to deal with the wings. So you want to pull them out. There's this, you can kind of see this little like cylindrical bit here. Here, it's actually a slider. So you want to pull out, and this will untap from here too. You pull out and then swing down, up. Why is it not? There we go. Pull out all the way. That's the problem. I wasn't pulling out all the way. So pull out completely, swing down, and all the way around 180 degrees, and it'll kind of settle in place here. There's like a little tab thing that kind of settles into place. So you want it like this. And on this side, same deal. Pull out all the way and rotate around, and that'll go into place. Now we are on our way. Next, I want to untab these sections here. They just come out, and they do actually click. They kind of click into place. Like that's in, that's out. So click that out, then pull this up, and this actually pegs in down here. There are these little circular pegs there that peg in the underside here. Unpeg those, and then this can kind of slip up. There's this little clip thing that clips over this bit here, so you can have it like that, but pop that out. We'll deal with this in a minute. This can just fold back. Now I'm going to deal with the legs. My favorite part of this transformation. I want to split the obvious legs, of course. Take the side tail fins, fold them down. Take the halves of the tail fin, fold them down. Now, I want to take this whole piece and pop it out and swing it. Oh, wait, actually, no. I forgot. Those doors that we were messing around with before, you want to open those all the way. Like that. Now we can pop this out and swing it down and around 180 degrees, and then rotate just below the knee, flip down the toe, and there you've got a leg. And of course, same deal here. You can do it in whatever order you want, but pop that out, swing it down, push out the toe, swing that around, and there we go. We've got legs. Moving up a bit. For the rest of it, this is probably going to go the way you think it's going to go. This entire assembly from the nose cone and everything just kind of rotates down 90 degrees. And there you've got that done. And now for the arms, you just want to unpeg these. There's a little peg hole under there, little peg there. Unpeg those and straighten it out on that double joint, both sides. And then these pieces, the turbines, can open up. You can do this a couple of different ways. Basically, they're kind of difficult to pull out when it's when you're trying to do it. But basically, it's got a door on either side. You don't have to pop out both, but you basically do it enough so that you can get the fist out. And that's it. That is all it takes to turn Fleta Z into their robot mode. And this is a pretty cool looking robot. I like how much more red there is here. Like before, there was red in like the stripes along the top, but here it's much more interestingly integrated in like the toes, the thighs, the biceps, the chest, and the head. The way everything lays out is really cool. It's not as... It's more obvious to me, I guess, than what happens with, say, Tobot v Airhide, where the wings become a cape. But I still think this is cool. And it affords you a surprising amount of articulation. It's a little bit odd in the arms in particular, but it is cool. And I really like that leg transformation. I actually think this is really cool, how the tail fin splits and becomes knee pads, but they also painted like a little bit of gold in there to give you some extra detail. I just think that's really cool. And, oh, actually I forgot, the landing gear, you can fold that in, because you don't have to leave that up when it's in robot mode. When they're in robot, sorry. And yeah, it's just cool, like the side fins folding back are nice. I think this is cool for some reason. Just kind of this coupled with the longer hip skirts makes it seem more like they've got some kind of like billowy coat on. Yeah, I don't know. This is a neat look. It's nicely detailed. And this is kind of in line with what I was saying before about this piece back here. Like, this is the only red paint on the figure. Like, nothing else that is red is painted on... Well, okay, that's not true. There's this piece. So that's one of two. And in both cases, it's more of a pinkish red. And I don't know, I just feel like maybe they should have either gone the extra mile to try and color match this to the other red, or if they wanted it to be different, maybe add some of that red elsewhere, just to kind of, you know, give it a little bit more. But it is what it is. And I mean, the detailing here is still really cool. Again, you've got the gold there, there's some nice silver in the thighs, there's some extra silver detailing in the waist and midriff section. That is really cool. Actually, this is going to sound silly, but I actually really like the sculpting in that midriff. It looks really neat, very mechanical, very slim and attractive, I guess? I don't know. The gold, again, really nice. That chest detail, very nice. That is molded. And the black on gold, always a great combination. It is a nifty and surprisingly clean, all things considered, transformation. I've said this before, but it always impresses me just how clean a lot of these Korean transforming toys are. You'd think being children's toys that are big and overall simpler than like the official stuff, that wouldn't be the case. But no, they're they can be quite tidy around the back. Now, let's take a look at that head. And I think the head is very fitting for what we've got going on here. Very avian, very swept back. You've, of course, got a very obvious bird head on top, which kind of evokes Airraiser in a way. Like, this kind of feels a little bit like that pseudo beak that she has in her design. Both the official, like the old school Beast Wars design, as well as like the newer interpretations. So maybe this is, in a way, supposed to evoke that. I don't know, but it kind of does. But it's got more of like a Gundam feel to it, and like the really sharply angled, swept back further kind of ear flappies, and the very, very angular faceplate. It's a cool head. It's very, very neat. I like the angles involved, and the colors are nice too. Like that red with the black, always great. Black on gold, always great. Silver face, gold chin. The blue eyes are difficult in that they work because they match the blue eyes from the jet mode. And the blue eyes up here work really well, and also this bird totally makes me think even more that this is supposed to look kind of bird-like, like a beak. But the problem is that light blue on the silver doesn't show up as well. And I feel like they could have gotten away with doing a different color of eyes for the robot head, because, you know, this could be a deco, or maybe they have 4 eyes. I don't know. I don't know. I've never watched the show, but I just feel like either something a little darker or a different tone or something would stand out more on that silver. It still looks good. It just could be a little bit better in terms of color separation. But in terms of joint separation, how'd you like that transition? Not totally awkward at all. The head, as you saw, is on a ball joint, so you actually get some really nice expressiveness. Like, the up could be better, but it's got some pretty decent down, some really nice left and right tilt, and of course can go all the way around. And this is also kind of cool. I like that they did that detail on the back of the head. And this is something I kind of wish could be done, where like you can kind of technically pull this up with the head turned around 180 degrees, but the problem is this is pressed up right against the head, and it just feels like it might either damage the paint or possibly stress the neck joint if you leave it like that for too long. Or it could be that it's just perfectly spaced. But the thing is, when you rotate the head around this way, and you look in there, there's like, I don't know, just the way it all lines up, you have a little bit more space. Like when this is up all the way, you can actually push the head back a little bit, so you have a little bit more space for the head when it's rotated this way, which is kind of a shame that it's better, I think, to have the head facing out in vehicle mode, but it's the bottom of the jet. Who cares? Anyway, back to articulation. The arm articulation is weird. I will freely admit that. The wings, because of that joint, can go up, but that's as far up as they can go. You cannot go out any further. That kind of sucks. You can go down, get that out of the way, you can go down, but that's as far out as they go. That could definitely be better. Pardon me. These have a ratcheting rotation for some reason. I do not understand why. Like, nothing that I saw shows them like getting turned, but you can if you wanted to like change the look, change the profile or something, you could do that. But I don't know, that's just kind of weird. Like, this doesn't do anything else. This doesn't like rock up and down, it just turns for some reason. You kind of get a bicep swivel, like right up here. You have this really very ratcheted swivel, which is nice. You don't get any traditional forward and backward movement on the arms. Instead, you've got this joint, which can go forward to about 90, but you only get 2 clicks, and can go back to 90, but you only get 2 clicks. You also get a full elbow bend because of the transformation. You don't get a wrist swivel, but you get a forearm swivel. So functionally, you get a wrist swivel. So it's just kind of a weird assortment of joints on the arms, but if you're really keeping them in mind, you can actually use them to achieve some pretty decent results. Now, this may come as a surprise, but you actually do get a waist swivel. This bit kind of knocks around back there, but if you lift the this section up and out of the way, you can totally do a full 360 ratcheted rotation on the waist. That's kind of nice. These flaps can go up and get out of the way if you need them to. The legs can go forward to 90. They can go, ow, pinched my finger. They can go back to 90. They can go out to 90. This is the disappointing part, though, with this figure. They do not have thigh swivels. You've got a knee swivel, which can still kind of accomplish a similar look, but it just doesn't accomplish it the same for me, because like, you do have a knee bend that can go 90 and 90. But the problem is with the knee swivels, when you, like, if you wanted to bend this out, you can't do like a dynamic thigh swivel because there is no thigh swivel. You can only rotate at the knee, and it just doesn't hit the same, you know? When I'm trying to get dynamic poses, a knee swivel just does not trump a thigh swivel. I really wish that this figure had thigh swivels. Oh well. And for the feet, you can move the toe, and that's pretty much it. There's no ankle tilt. Technically, if you wanted to, you could de-transform this and use this as like a pseudo ankle tilt, but I can't really imagine that looking that good. But the feet are sculpted in an A stance, so there's that. So yeah, the articulation, pretty good for what it is. It's just the lack of thigh swivels really that disappoints me, because the arms, I can work around the arm articulation being a bit odd. Just the thigh swivels is definitely a disappointment, but at least there are knee swivels. It's something. Now, in terms of accessories, there's this piece that we took off the back of the jet mode. This is a sword. You want to fold these bits up, fold this down, and there you go. There is a sword. And this can go in their hand, as swords do. And that looks like that. And then we have the card, which, as I showed before, you can pop this piece off, which is stuck on there really good. So pop this off, and there's the metal Cardbot logo on the other side. I just had a good place to store. And now for the weapon. What you want to do is take these pieces and pull them out, and I find it usually works best to kind of pull down slightly and out because they kind of hook in a little bit. So pull these out, ratchet them all the way down, take these little bits on the end, ratchet them all the way out. Then this piece will fold in and this clip will clip over this there. Put that in. And then here there's a little handle that's surprisingly tricky to get out, but there is a little tab that you can grab onto. Flip that out, and there we have Fleta Z's bow. And it's actually pretty cool. I think this does look neat. It doesn't really bother me that it's made out of translucent plastic because the joints don't feel tight enough for it to be that much of a concern. And I don't know, this plastic just feels sturdier and thicker than the kind of translucent plastic that I'm used to handling on like mainline transformers. Haven't noticed any cracks or stress marks, but if it breaks, I don't really care because this is ultimately just a flashy accessory and you already have a sword. So I feel like this isn't as important as it is with like some of the other metal cardbots. But as you would expect, this can peg into the fist, and it just does exactly what you think. Pegs in, and now the problem is this is a little bit loose, so it kind of has a tendency to do that, but still, you can give them this cool, big, glowy bow, and if you really want to, this is not something I prefer to do, but if you really want to, there is actually a little peg hole right there, and this little peg right there. You can peg the sword onto the bow and basically have it look like, I guess it's like a really big bow or a really big arrow that's being shot. I don't really know. Personally, though, I don't really bother with that. I just stick with the sword and there we go. Pardon me whilst I mess around with this a bunch in awkward silence. There we go. So yeah, when I set up this this figure on the shelf, it's like simpler pseudo-dynamic that waist swivel just a little bit uncooperative. I don't know. I think the figure's cool. I think the posability for, you know, what it is pretty decent. I like the bow accessory, but don't like using the bow accessory with the sword because it just kind of complicates things. But still, this does look pretty cool. And the posability, for what I need at least, is there. Just wish that maybe it was a little bit better. Oh, and also you can kind of use this as not even really an ab crunch, just crunches the arms only. One thing, though, that I do want to talk about before I forget, in terms of this, I did figure out an unofficial way to store this thing. Basically, it's just tilt this whole assembly up, jam this up here, tilt it back down, and the friction of this piece here against the waist will basically just hold it in place and act like a secondary kind of rear hip skirt or rear butt flap skirt. And it's not great, but it does get the it gets the little card thing out of the way. So at least that way I can have Fleta Z in their robot mode without having to worry about losing that piece. Now that I've fumbled my way through all of this nonsense, let's bring back our size comparisons one more time. There's Artfire and Rotor Storm, and as you can already see, Fleta is a lot bigger than a standard Transformers figure because transforming Korean robot toy, that's how these things go. They're generally pretty huge. But that is how all that shakes out. And now let's bring in some of the other large ones. So representing classic Hello Carbots, there is Ponymeister, and as you can see, Ponymeister is noticeably bigger and has a bit more in terms of mass, though he also has a bit more in terms of flaps. But yeah, slightly metal Cardbot figures, a bit smaller than classic Korean robot toys. And bringing in the King, Robot v Wild Chief, like that. It's about the same, it's roughly the same height. I feel like that's cool. I think, this is kind of what the size has become for a lot of these figures. Like newer Hello Carbot figures are typically around this size. Newer Tobots are typically around this size. Mini Force figures are to a degree around this size, but like Mini Force is all over the place in terms of what the figures do, so maybe not all of them are this size, but this is kind of what I would call the, I guess, new default in terms of height for these kinds of figures. So I think the metal Cardbot figures fit pretty nicely into that blanket size class, if it's even a size class. Anyway, here they are with the duck tank. And that does it for metal Cardbot Fleta, whatever Z. And this is a really cool figure. It's definitely got some, I want to say, issues is probably the wrong word, but there are definitely some things about the figure that I feel like could have been better. Primarily, I just wish we had thigh swivels. I don't like it when they do knee swivels instead of thigh swivels. Like, it's better than nothing, but not by much. The arm articulation is also a little weird, but I feel like if you use this joint as your forward-backward motion, it works out just fine. It could use more detents. And because the swivel is above the forward-backward joint, that also makes certain poses a little awkward. But like, as you can see, slightly more relaxed poses I think work just fine with this. And you, of course, get the little forearm swivel, so you can, add a little bit more personality to your poses that way. It's primarily the thigh swivels. And if you're trying to get really fancy with the with the dynamic posing. And I still don't understand why those are on rotating ratchets. It just doesn't make sense. But anyway, still great. I still do not regret getting this at all. Thankfully, because these figures are a little bit smaller, the boxes are a little bit smaller, it was actually not that expensive to import it from Korea. I forget exactly what the shipping was, but it was actually semi-reasonable when I got this off of Gmarket. So, something to keep in mind. I don't know, I think it was worth it. I'm not going to be getting all of the metal Cardbot figures, but if any more come out that really catch my attention because they look cool and have decent articulation, I'll probably bite. There are a couple that came close, but just didn't quite hit the mark for me, so not getting those, but I've got this one, and this one makes me happy. But that is enough about what I think about metal Cardbot Fleta Z or Z or however you pronounce it. What do you all think of this figure/character? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and since I remembered to do the Patreon and Discord link shilling before, don't really know what to say from this point on, so I don't know, if you're interested in importing figures like this, check out my video on using Gmarket, I guess. See you next time.